Hello again, many thanks for joining us. My name is Ernest Mino. This is your election headquarters, and the Electoral Commission is starting training exercises for over 40,000 officers for the new voters registration exercise. JoyNews understands that a number of officers, including regional directors and their deputies, as well as regional supervisors, their deputy registration supervisors, district electoral officers, among others, have already been taken through special training regimes. We have on stream the Director of Training of the Electoral Commission, Michael Boydu. He joins us for some quick updates and education on the process. Mr. Boydu, thank you very much for joining us. Now, what is the exact number captured so far for the training program?
Thank you very much. We are looking at a total of 42,457 people to train. We started the training already. It took off from the 16th of June, and we are still going through by 24th of that's 6th of May. Sorry. So by 24th of June, we would have finished with the training. Now the training is cascaded. We have three-leg or three-tier training approach. Yeah, so we are doing the KTT already. We've done the KTT already. We are now doing the TOT, from which we will go to the grassroots training. And so by Saturday, the grassroots training will take off.
We understand that you already set a date for the registration exercise proper, but tell us about the grassroots training. Who are those involved? Who qualifies to be an officer, for instance?
Good. The grassroots training will be training some categories of people. They are as follows. The data entry clerks who will be handling the kits will be trained. Then we will also train the registration officers, and they will do fill in all the necessary forms, the Form 1A and other related registration forms. In fact, it is the registration officers that will be in charge of the registration centers. After this, we have other two categories of officials to also train during this grassroots. We have the registration assistant in charge of lamination. And then we have another registration officer, special duty. His duty or her duty will be to export the data on daily basis. And so he or she transports the list of officials, voters registered on daily basis to the district office, and then it's later also exported to the database in Accra. So basically, we have four categories of officials to train during this grassroots exercise.
And I'll come to the group of people you're using for this, but we're looking at the time frame. Are you sure that within now and the next few days you'll be able to go through the training program as planned so that we can have a successful registration?
Yes, I can confidently say that we will go through the process as planned. A lot of thinking has gone through this, a lot of planning, and so having taken it off, we know we will see through to the end. We don't see any obstruction as of now, and so we will be able to deliver as expected. Yeah.
And closely related is the issue of the acceptance of documents, how one can prove it's his or her nationality. We know that there's already a case in court. The minority is also considering another case. Will these issues have any impact on the training program that you're having already, that you're starting soon?
No. Okay. We are going on with the training. Should there be a change in the modality, depending on the outcome of the court case, we will have a way of communicating that to our operatives. And so we would not do anything contrary to the law. So whatever the decision is, and we will have a way of communicating to operatives even after the training for them to carry them it through. So it will not affect our training at all.
I want to talk about the individuals that you're using for this training. In the past, the EC has used teachers and sometimes professional groups as officers for the election. Is that happening this year, or it is just opened to anyone who wants to partake in this?
Okay, let me take you back to how we started this recruitment process.
Yeah.
We made an advert, and so people who were interested put in their applications. We did a shortlisting and we interviewed them across the country. Interview panel were instituted to do this interview across the country. And so the list that we have as the outcome of the interview, those who did well. And if you should go through the list, of course, there are a lot of teachers also, professionals, because experience counts. And in an interview, you're looking out for experience, you're looking out for other qualities. So those who have done it before, had the greater advantage. And so you realize at the end of the day, quite a number of them as teachers, like you said, professionals, and they are going through this training to actually prepare them well to be able to do the work we expect them to do.
Let us take a returning officer, for instance. Who qualifies to be a returning officer?
You should be, of course, a Ghanaian, and you should have a minimum of first degree.
Okay.
And should have worked with the EC for some time. At least you need some experience. And you should be able to exhibit political neutrality. We do know that we all have some interest, one way or the other, by way of where you lean politically. But then you should not be known to be an active member of a party.
How are you able to verify that? How are you able to verify that?
These guys, the officials are picked from the communities. And the regulations, the CI 91 requires that the list is made available to parties. So if you have any objection, they raise all that. And so if you're in the community and you are known to be an active party member, and here you come working for us, it will be obvious. And so once the information gets to us, we do the necessary investigation, then we take the appropriate decisions and drop you.
Now, let's talk about remuneration and resources for this program. Usually, in the past, you always hear some of these officers complaining about their remuneration. They're not being paid even for allowances for these registration, and post the election having to complain so many times and using all sorts of means to have the EC pay them. Do you have all that you need for this registration for the training program in terms of remuneration for these officers?
Yes. Resources, financial resources, material, and the personnel needed for our training are all in place. And that should not be a problem at all. In terms of allowance for officials after the actual work, we have advanced with arrangement to ensure that when you talk about the past, people delay in the payment of salary allowances. With the current regime, the EC, we have instituted a means of payment, and that is to say you have to get a bank account. So we pay them through their banks. And so that is a better option, and it's yielding better results. There are a few challenges, though, where some of these operatives provide wrong account numbers that belong to a relation and not them. And some even provide usage accounts and other things. So a few challenges which are always resolved, and they get their money once they are due for.
So you want to assure us that we're not going to have a situation where people will be protesting because the EC has failed to pay them?
No, we wouldn't have it. When we enroll you and you provide the needed information with regards to your bank details, you will get your money when it's ready.
We're wrapping up on this. Just a few words before you go, Mr. Boyde.
Yes, we are preparing to conduct the registration, and on our parts, we're making everything possible to make sure that the personnel that we put out there will live up to expectation. We have to behave professionally. But on the part of the public, we will require that they support us. And if you don't understand anything, any aspect of our process, just approach us for clarification. We are working together as a team. It is the interest of Ghana that we are all fighting for. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bodu, I want you to hold the line for me. There's an insert I want to play to you. It's from the Member of Parliament for Boku Central. He said he is dragging the Electoral Commission to court over the exclusion of a birth certificate as one of the documents required for voter registration. Now, Mr. Yaga argues that the certificate is a source document for the passport and the Ghana card, which are accepted for the registration. Now, the EC is already facing legal action over the exclusion of the voter's ID as a required document. But speaking on Prime Morning on JoyNews, on the Joy Prime channel with Daniel Dazi, Mr. Yaga said that it is only the first of the Commission's legal battles. Let's listen to that.
The additional issue that we are considering sending to court is the birth certificate. But we think that whatever the case, the birth certificate is the foundation document. And so it is ridiculous that you will accept every other document but the birth certificate. Because the birth certificate is the basis of the information that the NIA is using for the Ghana card. The birth certificate is the basis of the passport that the Minister for Foreign Affairs is issuing to you. So why would they, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, accept the birth certificate and issue you a passport, and then Ghana card NIA will accept the birth certificate and issue a Ghana card, and yet you, the Electoral Commission, who is supposed to do the same job of identifying citizens, refuse to accept the birth certificate, which is a foundation document. That is, in our opinion, quite ridiculous. So that issue is not before
they faced you at the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, and you asked this question. Now, my question is that does it not sufficiently satisfy you that you need to identify the person and prevent fraud and prevent persons who basically lie?
No. You see, if today my citizenship is challenged and I go to the High Court, let's say that I apply for a passport and the Minister for Foreign Affairs says he will not issue the passport to me because I'm not a citizen of Ghana, which is the main criteria for issuing passports. And I go to the High Court to challenge the Minister for Foreign Affairs. The court will not ask for my photograph. The court is going to ask for my birth certificate. And if I don't have a birth certificate, the court is going to ask me to satisfy them that under the Citizenship Act, I was born in Ghana of a certain date. I was born on a certain date or before a certain date. I was born to parents who were also born in Ghana by or before a certain date. Those are the basic questions that any high court will ask me. They're not going to ask me to bring a photograph. They are not. So that whole story about a photograph is really unnecessary.
Will you be going to court to challenge the birth certificate issue?
Definitely. We will go to court to compel them to allow the use of the birth certificate as a medium of identification. Already, we are in court, challenging the issue of the non-use of a previous state document which proves or and it gives evidence of your citizenship. So those are things that we will push for because we believe that the system should be based on the proper, legal footing.
Right.
Now, Mr. Boydu, in a separate development, the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, that's ASEP, has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the President to forward their petition for the removal of the EC boards to the Chief Justice. ASEP is arguing that the EC boards failed to declare her assets 3 months before assuming office, and that for them constitutes grounds for removal, and they want their petition forwarded. The Executive Director of ASEP, Mensah Thompson, spoke on Prime Morning.
Now, when you do that, you set a precedence and you give room for some of these things to be activated. And once there's a precedent, you know, the law binds us that we must apply the laws of this country fairly and equitably to all Ghanaians. In fact, in the previous case, the petitioners were unknown. At least this time around, we are known. In fact, I'm here, everybody knows that I am the petitioner. In the previous case, the petitioners are even faceless. Up to date, we still don't know who the petitioners are. But people have been removed from office for faceless petitioners. But what I meant was that the petition that we have sent, there has been a precedent. And when the precedent was set in motion, the president acted on it. And on what basis? On the basis of violation of our constitution. So of what reason does the president have for not acting on this particular one? For that too, there's also a precedent where several petitions are there on the desk of the president gathering dust. The president has failed to work to refer it to the appropriate entity in accordance with law. And that is why we are serving that notice, because for this one, we are not going to allow it to fly. We sent the petition yesterday, and let me say that we are aware that there are several petitions that are lying on the desk of the president which has not been worked upon. We are assuring the people of Ghana and the presidency that we are giving them 1 week. In fact, we've stated it in the petition. We're giving them 7 working days for the president to act as a conveyor belt to refer the petition to appropriate entity to deal with it. Within 1 week, if we've not seen any action from the presidency, we'll go to court to file a mandamus to compel the president to act on this petition.
Mr. Boydu, you had the ASEPA and then earlier the MP for Boko Central. Your reaction to these gentlemen?
Well, with regard to the MP for Boko Central's assertion, you agree with me that the issue is still in court. It will therefore not be appropriate for us to comment on that until a determination is made. So if you would bear with me, that would be my brief comment on that. The other issue regarding a petition to the president is a petition to the president. And so for us as a commission, we don't come in here. So let's see how the president handles this matter.
I'm wondering how the EC chairperson has been reacting to this news since it broke yesterday.
It's just yesterday, and I wouldn't be able to tell her reaction now because we have not even met on the one just yesterday. So please, I think let's give ourselves time and see how her reaction will be.
Thank you very much. Mr. Boydu is Director of Training for the Electoral Commission, and they have begun training for over 40,000 officers who will be carrying out the registration exercise and also subsequently help the EC conduct the December 7 polls. This is still your election headquarters. I'm bringing more stories on elections, but this time on the NPP's primaries. Let's go to Kumasi now and speak to the MP for Bantama, Daniel Ochemabuade Abuache, and he joins us via Zoom. Thank you very much for your time here on NewsDesk. The primaries is a few days away, June 20, and you are coming against a heavyweight, the Deputy Chief of Staff. How is the campaign going, and how sure are you that you're going to win this one?
And of course, to my good people of Baltimore constituency, yeah, of course, if you are going to contest against Deputy Chief of Staff, it's a big one that the people of Baltimore constituency will have to decide. A decision is theirs. For me, if you should ask me, the big fight is not just our priorities. The big fight is how we can retain the president for a second term to continue to do the good things that he has been doing, and to try to make sure that we can fix this country and put it on a path that is going to go beyond aid. So we are a Democratic Party, MPP. We believe in the principle of election. We are going through this. It's a motion, the decision is a decision of the people. So let's see. We'll choose for ourselves who we want to lead us going forward. I believe that myself and my delegates or people of Bantu constituency in 2016, we were able to set a record in the history of Bantama constituency from 1996 to 2016. We got 89%, almost 89%. To be specific, it was 88.4%, and that was because it used to be 80%. That was as a result of my hard work of 7 months house to house. I got a chance to represent the party parliament. I believe sincerely that I've distinguished myself as a first-timer in parliament. I've represented my people very well. I've done over 120 projects and programs and activities in my constituency. I've supported, I've opened up my common fund. People have seen what I'm capable of doing. And I've represented the country internationally, several IMF, World Bank meetings, a few other things. So it is going to be a matter of I've been there, done it, and give me a chance to continue. We are asking for stability and continuity for our president, and we brought the president to power, right, together with the other MPs and NEA. So it is just fair that people will have to say that please continue. We need stability for progress. The learning has been done in the first term. Why change? Won't you be happy if you're a Bantama constituency and you have 2 great people in the party?
Well, Mr. Chimabwaji, the suggestion is that...
Why will you change?
There's a suggestion that because this is the Deputy Chief of Staff, he has the backing of the President and indeed of government. And so, in fact, some have suggested that he's been sent to unseat you. How do you react to that?
When the President wanted Chama Wontumi to go unopposed, he called the person that was contesting, Mr. Asaridia. So far, he hasn't called me. They are all his children. He cannot accept anybody come and say that the president doesn't like me. He hasn't shown that to me. He's been nice to me all the time. So it's just a principle of democracy. Let the people decide for themselves. He's the president of the country. We all like him. We support him. I speak for him as one of his spokespeople on finance, all right? So I've not been invited. Nobody has spoken to me. And this decision, though, is the NPP's decision, but let me tell you, it's a people's decision. The constituency in Bantama that is going to decide. And so it's their decision. Let them decide who they want to worship. But of course, I want to continue because I believe I've finished the learning. I've participated. I've represented them very well. Everybody knows it. And given the chance, I'll do my best.
Thank you very much. Daniel Chimabwaji is MP for Bantama, and he is coming up, he's contesting in the primaries, and of course his contender is no other than the Deputy Chief of Staff, Francis Asenso. We'll be following that for you, and this is your election headquarters. Well, you need to stay with us for everything elections. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll go back to Kumasi because there's some development happening there. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Newsdesk. Now, 2 suspected armed robbers who were members of an AK-47 wielding gang have been gunned down at Akatamanso news site in Kumasi. My colleague Ohemin Teya joins us with the very latest. Ohemin, bring us up to speed with this development in Kumasi.
Thank you, Ernest. Just last night, the police team had information, based on intelligence that they picked, they followed up to an incident where a group of armed robbers were said to have made an attempt to go on robbery expedition. So the Regional Anti-Armed Robbery Task Force members were dispatched, and we are told when these robbers in a BMW vehicle saw the police team approaching them, then they first opened fire on the police, and police also retaliated. We will be speaking to the Deputy Ashanti Regional Police Commander, DCOP David Ajem, for some details. A while ago, he addressed the media in Kumasi. So thanks so much for the opportunity, DCOP David Ajem, and congratulations as well.
Thank you, and good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Fill us in with the details of this robbery expedition.
Thank you, my brother. Based on intelligence, last night we sent some of our men to a site where we believed some members of an armed robbery group were gathering to go and operate. When they saw the officers approaching, they shot at them, injuring one officer in the process, and so the officers needed to return fire. In the course of the shooting, 2 of the robbers were hit and they died. The others escaped. And so we will take this opportunity to inform all health facilities and herbal centers that if they get any persons who have gunshot wounds, they should immediately inform us so that we can arrest these persons for questioning. These hoodlums were believed, based on our intelligence, were the persons who had earlier in the month or late last month carried out an operation at Manso Dadieso, where 3 persons were killed, including the driver of the DCE.
So you are linking these 2 persons or the group to the Manso Dadieso incident. How? Why are you linking them to the incident?
My brother, if I said that based on intelligence, our intelligence indicated that they were the persons. We are going to do an identification, and after that we can be positive about. But our intelligence were strong, and we believe that they were the persons who perpetrated that crime.
Let's talk about last night's incident. We were told that the residents in the vicinity came out of their homes to catch a glimpse or witness the incident. How did this impact on the police operations?
It did greatly affect us because, but for that, we would have been able to arrest the ones who were fleeing. But because there were too many persons there, we could not do what was expected of us. And I'll take this opportunity to advise the general public that especially if you hear gunshots, please stay where you are, take cover, rather than come out, because a stray bullet can easily, and we are lucky that none of them was injured in the shootout. And so we would advise anybody that once you hear gunshots, stay put, take cover, and wait till things subside, because you could be caught in crossfire.
With the police officer who was hit yesterday, for instance, how is he doing?
Yesterday, immediately after the operation, he was rushed to the hospital, and as at this morning, he's stable, and so we are sure that he will be out of the woods soon.
I take a leave of you. Talking about robbery general in Ashanti Region, how would you say has been the rate of robbery incidents in the region?
I think that you would bear testimony to the fact that since the last quarter of last year, and of course the 2 quarters of this year, violent crimes have really gone down, especially armed robbery. The exceptions are a few car snatchings that we've had. But with those as well, we have been able to arrest some people. And of course, this group that were accosted yesterday were also believed to be part of the group that have been carjacking pickups. And so we are working on that, and we assure the public that we'll do our best to get rid of these miscreants in our midst. However, we can only do that if the public offer information. So again, I would plead to the general public that they should offer us information when they see things out of place. What we know is that mostly when these vehicles are snatched, they are parked at warehouses, abandoned places, fitting shops. And so when they see them, they should quickly inform us so that we can be on the scene.
All right. So, Ernest, that has been the Deputy Regional Police Commander, DCOP David Ajemanajem, taking us up to speed with the developments in Ashanti Region as far as robbery and last night's robbery incident is concerned.
Ohime Interior, thank you very much for bringing us more on that development there. And Ohime is with our security desk, always bringing us up to speed on matters in the region. And let's move away from security. Let's talk about the National Identification Authority, because beginning today, they are distributing more than 3.8 million Ghana cards to applicants. The distribution will be carried out at 5,635 registration centers across the country in all 16 regions concurrently, and is expected to run till Tuesday, June 16 this year. The head of corporate affairs for the NIA, Francis Pamdeti, joins us on the line. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Newsdesk. Has the SI started already?
Yes, the exercise has started, as we had announced to the public that will start today, and the exercise has started. I'm monitoring the developments on the ground. I need to add most of the centers in the regions, except for Greater Accra, will have a delayed start to the exercise because we have scheduled to airlift some consumables, notably PPEs, to these regions yesterday. But due to weather conditions, they weren't able to lift them yesterday. But this morning, they have dropped these items in Ashanti, the northern region, and Wa, and the other parts that need these items.
So are you saying that it's on hold for today?
No, it started. But what I mean is that
it will delay.
It was supposed to start at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
But it will be delayed because of these items going in. But from midday going, I'm sure all these other centers in the region should be activated. But Greater Accra has started. So
you're saying that this is happening in all over 5,000 centers across the country?
That's correct. It's across the country simultaneously.
So in Accra, for instance, where exactly can I go if I don't have my card?
Oh, wherever all the centers we use during the registration exercise, those centers, those very same centers are being used for the card collection.
Okay.
So wherever you registered, you just have to go back to that center for your card.
And we are sure that the over 3.8 million cards are all ready for distribution.
All the cards are ready for distribution, except for those cards that have issues with respect to various categories of errors. They are not very many. But all the other cards that were in backlog have been printed and have been distributed to the various centers.
So is there a way I can find out if my card is not ready so I don't go and queue only to be told that there's an error and that I cannot receive my card?
What you call the various centers have been tasked to take down persons whose cards are not at the center so that we can communicate with them as to when they should pick up their card. So you have to go to the center.
Now, there are concerns about meeting the social distancing protocols and all the COVID-19 safety measures. What is happening on the ground? Are we observing that? And how do we ensure that the people who come to the centers indeed adhere to this strictly?
Our officials have been trained to ensure that this particular protocol and other health protocols are observed. And so they know what to do in terms of spacing them out 1 to 2 meter distances. So that is being observed from the few officials I've spoken to this morning. They are strictly observing that.
Now, when will the mop-up exercise also start? Is it running concurrently, or this is just the distribution?
No, this is just the distribution. Mop-up is scheduled to start on the 18th of June. And it would not, the timetable for the mop-up will be made public. It will not start simultaneously like we're having for the card distribution. We'll have chunks of regions taking off whilst others follow. But they will start on the 18th of June.
If I have a concern with this distribution exercise, who do I go to? Who can I call?
You can call our contact center, and they would address your concerns. I can give you the numbers to the contact center, and then they'll sort you out as soon as you raise any issues with respect to the exercise.
You can go ahead, sir, if you have that.
0302
yes, go ahead.
306 2308.
And that's a hotline that you can get direct contact to.
Yes, and then you could also send us a Facebook message or WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number just escaped me, but Facebook is also live. But these numbers are contact center numbers you can call to raise any complaint.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on News.